podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Welcome to Scarlets Fever, the home of Saucepan Central and Westerer is Besterer. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Scarlets Fever with me, Lee G, and in a change to the usual lineup, Martin has had an upgrade this week, so I've still got Cat Boy with me. Evening, Huw.
Good evening.
Evening, and Martin has been upgraded. He's not going to like that when he comes back, is he? He's not going to like me saying that. We're joined this week by Ben Evans. Good evening, Ben.
Shiriti boys, how you doing?
Good, man, good. So just kind of give everyone a flavour of who you are and why you love the Scarlets and all of that kind of stuff, mate. Just so they know you're genuine and all of that kind of stuff.
To let you know I'm genuine. My name's Ben Evans, as has been said. I'm an actor, stroke singer, stroke class clown. Followed the Scarlets all my life. I'm a Hendy boy. I was born in Carmarthen, but we moved to Hendy temporarily about 40 years ago, still there. And yeah, I remember going to Stradey Park and seeing the glory days. I was there, the Australia game, November 92, was that?
Mm-hmm.
Colin Stevens Day. That was, kind of my one of my first experiences with the Scarlets. So it doesn't get much better than that. They probably peaked very much like my acting and singing career, probably peaked 30 odd years ago. But yeah, I mean, I still try and go and watch the boys as much as I can. And I lived in London for a long time. So the Scarlets at the time were the only good story coming out of Welsh rugby at that time with our European games and stuff. So that's the only way I could give it back to the English, really. So thank you, Scarlets.
See, I remember that Australia game because I mitched off school that day.
Oh,
and I got home and I thought, all right, okay, this will be good. And I put the key in the door, and then I realised that my dad's work van was there. I'm like, oh shit, dad's taking the afternoon off work. So I sat there and watched the Australia game with my dad. And we were both like, we won't tell mum. We won't tell mum. We'll just watch the game. We'll watch it. Yeah. It's yeah.
And another, sorry, one more thing of makes me when I was a youngster, so when I was under eights and all the way through to under 12s, I played at Bonnie. So I'd gone up there to play. My uncle was kind of up there and coaching, so I went up to Bonnie to play, and we won British Team of the Month. And as it was the Sun newspaper were running that competition, we hadn't lost in about 3 seasons, and we got to train against that famous Llanelli team. So at the time, I was playing prop. And small and podgy, or stocky, as they used to say, and I propped down against Di Joseph. And Rick Evans was on the other yeah, it was brilliant. You know, I think I went underneath through Tony Copsey's legs. And it was so that's my claim to fame.
I think quite a lot of people went underneath Tony Copsey because he was massive, wasn't he?
He was a big lad.
Yeah.
He was a big lad.
Cool. Okay. Well, we got loads of stuff to talk about this week. So just so everyone knows, Martin is sending himself in Devon. He's taken his whole brood for the week to Devon, which is one full train of about 8 carriages, and Martin shipped them all off down to Devon. So he says he's enjoying it, but he's on WhatsApp an awful lot. You know, for somebody who's enjoying his holiday, he's on WhatsApp to us an awful lot. You're going to be in shit with the wife next week now when she finds out. So let's start with Wales women. Let's start at the top and work our way down. So what did you make it? I mean, we were all expecting a bit of a hammering on the weekend, and wasn't that much of a hammering, but we got tanked. So what did you make of it? So Ben, as our guest, what did you make of the Wales women game, mate?
It's difficult, isn't it, to gauge any kind of game against, I suppose, England, France, and New Zealand women they played a different sport. They're so far ahead, aren't they? So it's difficult to gauge, but England are probably at the same level as they have been and consistent the last couple of years. So Wales 20 points better off than last year. So that's progression, I suppose. There were some good moments they got in the 22 a bit. It was just about taking the chances, but it just seems to be that Welsh rugby line at the moment of progression and a work in progress, and that just seems to be it at the moment. But I think definitely green shoots of positivity. But it's probably more of a mentality thing than a player thing. I think it's just becoming more ruthless in the 22 and making the right choices. But England are just they can just step on the gas whenever they want to. I mean, they're probably the best team in the world, aren't they?
Mm. Quite comfortably in there. So, Huw, what did you make of it, mate?
Yeah, I didn't manage to catch the whole game, unfortunately, but the some of the stats are okay. I will say that finding stats on the women's game is a bit of a nightmare. A lot of the normal sources that provide all the stats, even for URC games, are kind of lagging when it comes to cover the international women's games, which is really disappointing. Alex Callender again was outstanding. Obviously, Briton player, so we love her. Top carrier, top tackler. Um, so that's great. She was great against Scotland as well. Wales actually edged the territory, 51 to 49%, which you wouldn't normally expect, and has got 12, 22 entries compared to England's 16. So still, obviously, England, like Ben said, could pretty much put the hammer down when they chose to and get some points on the board. But yeah, managed to play in the right areas, do a lot of good things, but unfortunately not turn it into scoreboard. I wonder whether maybe might have been some opportunities to kick it posts a bit more. We didn't give away too many penalties, gave away 9, which isn't the end of the world. England actually gave away 15, but you actually find that some of the top sides actually give away a lot of penalties at the moment. It's just where they do them and how they do them. They give away good penalties. We'll talk about that more when we get to the Scarlets game.
Who is that them competing more at the breakdown as well and maybe getting on, they're not picking and choosing as much when to go. They're kind of competing at every breakdown and not afraid to kind of get pinged in certain areas.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I remember speaking about some like the All Blacks when they were in their pomp, like whether it be Richie McCaw or Kieran Reid would get pinged early in games a lot, but that's because they were finding out where the line was with the referee and things.
Yeah, so they go
Um,
towards the ref, not the law. That's
yeah, exactly. And I think it's kind of when you're that street smart, you go, I'll give away a penalty here because if say you're in like the corner by the touchline, it's like, well, they're not going to kick for posts from here, so we're comfortable defending the line out. So maybe that's a bit of it. I have to watch the game again. But Wales conceded 23 turnovers in this game, which is obviously anything north of 20 is a bit of a shocker, to be honest. But like we said, definitely improvement, definitely on the score line. Don't forget it was away as well, and last year was at home. Um, yeah, so it's just we knew what to expect coming to this game, so I don't think anybody's disappointed or upset about it. It's just the reality of the gap of England in particular. I expect they'll do that to everybody except France in this tournament, to be honest.
Mm. I think for me, it was actually quite enjoyable to watch. Even I don't get to watch many women's games, so having it actually on the box and right smack bang in front of you made it much more accessible. And yeah, it was enjoyable to watch. Some of the amount of pressure that we put England under was, and you felt like, okay, yeah, we're building. There's a try coming, turnover, 80 meters, two phases, try. So there were bits like that. You're like, oh, that's good. But then we kept putting them back under pressure. So yeah, you can kind of see that there's stuff coming there, and it did genuinely get me kind of up and at it. I wouldn't say I was throwing my slippers at the telly. The dogs weren't scared. The dogs were sitting on my lap. They weren't hiding. But yeah, it was definitely a good game to watch. So in my head now, when we play Ireland next, in it, is that
Mm,
right? Yeah. So I'm
yeah.
I'm ticked in for that. I'm right. Okay,
Ireland had
let's.
a very disappointing result against Italy as well.
yeah.
Mm,
I was pretty shocked with that. I
Mm,
thought that was probably yeah, that was a big kind of shock. But it's only good for the game. I think you're right. I think that as a game, I'll definitely be like you say, put that down to watch now the next to see the progression and stuff. After the Scotland game, not quite, but Wales England, you've got to watch Wales England, haven't you?
mm.
So that's a good
mm,
mark and how to kind of go again. But yeah.
mm. Okay, cool. So we'll have more time to talk about the women's game next week, and I'm hoping that we can work some magic and find some guests to come on. But we will talk more about the Wales women game next week because we've got a community game to talk about, and Martin has left me his list of community games. Now, now I do spreadsheets. Yeah, I do spreadsheets. That's what my job is. I do spreadsheets. And then Martin's done a spreadsheet and bugger me. I mean, come on, Mart. There's a reason why, so at the start of the season, Martin was complaining that we were messing around with his spreadsheets and he couldn't find anything. So I opened Martin's spreadsheet about 10 minutes before we came on air. Bugger me. There's a reason why you can't read anything on there, Martin. It's because you can't bloody work out what's on there. So, stuff on Martin's spreadsheet. So I will go down and do all the community game properly, okay? Because I can kind of work out what's going on there. But I'm going to leave this stuff for Martin next week because he can work out what to say.
Martin
So,
loves a double community update. He
oh,
loves
he
it when we
does,
miss a
doesn't
week
he?
and he can come in.
And he rubs his hands and he's like, right, okay, I'm back, I'm pumped. And then me and
And
Huw,
he can do the double fixtures as well. And he said, as of last week, they were due to play this team. And now they played this team, and now I can tell you the result of that.
he could do it next week. We can bugger off and have tea while he's doing his community update. So, things for Martin to do next week. Okay, so men's under 18s, Wales against England. So I've got
I
35,
am
36.
confused about the under 18 Six Nations Festival because you play like 2 games a day. So I don't
Yeah, which
there's something about that that I've not understood.
I think that's the women's game because on the women's thing, he's got Wales against France and then Wales against Scotland. And then there's some names there, but he hasn't got the whole name. So I'm not going to insult anyone with going F Jones and P Morgan because I don't know who they are. So I'm going to leave that to Martin for next week. And if he complains, tough. Don't go on holiday with your family. Oh, his wife's going to be annoyed with me now as well.
Snooze,
So,
you lose.
yeah. So, one game that was on telly last week was Newport Llandudno. Now, we bigged this up last week because this was huge for Llandudno, and we were all expecting, a fairly close game. 24-6 loss against Newport. I mean, Jack Davis went down with what we suspect was a broken leg at the time. I haven't seen an update on it, but it looked quite nasty, and that was quite early in the game. Um, and then, yeah, we just didn't look like they were in it. I'll be honest.
Well,
They
you watch the first 10 minutes and the scrum it was like they were scrumming against children, absolutely shoving them back was like no one's business. You're thinking, oh, this could be a bit of a walkover here. And then there was a really good opportunity early on where the ball went back inside and it went to ground and the guy just drops it. It would have been a walk in. And then never really looked like scoring a try again.
mm,
Newport are like the entertainers of the league. Um, and they they got a couple of breakaway tries. There was a tap and go in the first half. There was um, a breakaway. I don't think it was an intercept, but it was a race down the touchline by the winger in the second half. And then there was a pushover try from a maul, and that was kind of it. So,
mm.
yeah, I don't think the score line necessarily reflected the game because it was squeaky, but it's just 3 moments that Newport got right. But I suspect this isn't the last time these two will play each other this season.
They're not playing them in the cup, are they?
Is there not a
Oh, you
playoff at
mean
the
no
top?
in the playoffs? Sorry, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
was wondering. I thought you were pissed for 2 minutes there, mate. I thought you were on something weird. Okay, so the other game in the Premiership was Quins pulled off 22-20 win against Pontypridd, which
Charlie Titcombe, 17 points.
see, I knew I wouldn't even need to say the name. It would just there it is. But apparently he had a very good game. He was playing with Archie inside him as well. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's all good for the future of the Scarlets. I expect to see those two together on the pitch before the end of the season. So, right now, this is where we get complicated, okay? Because I'm on Martin's spreadsheet now. So, this weekend's fixtures, I've just got Carmarthen against Carmarthen Quins, okay? So, Down into Championship West. So Narberth played Brecon and lost 25-20. Gutted, should have been a win. Newcastle Emlyn lost 27-20 at home to Trebanos. Fixtures for this week: Ammanford host Brecon, Llangennech host Bonamine. Oh, that's one for you, Ben.
It's my Ben Evans derby.
Well, third against fourth, and they're not being funny. We're all hoping that Llangennech give them a right tonking because, yeah, Bonamine is too far east. They're not really west, like, they're kind of there, but they're not.
I'll be supporting that day, don't worry.
And then we've got Newcastle Emlyn hosting Narberth again. Narberth on the back of 2 weeks now, 2 losses in 2 weeks, which is not like them at all. Down into one west, so Kidwelly 41, Aberystwyth 27, Velenvoil beat Hendy 21-13. Should we skip over that one, Ben? We'll move on.
Well, I would like to, but we have got a lot of. We played midweek against Dunvant in the cup, and but a strong team out where, in hindsight, would you have gone lighter and saved yourself for the weekend? We have got a lot of injuries. Best scrum in the league, but where the injuries are kind of catching us out now. But still, been overall pretty good season. Nobody likes losing to Velenvoil, do they?
So Whitland lost 50 points to nil against Lechley Wanderers, which, at least they're the better of them. So fixtures for this weekend: Buryport host Kidwelly, Gassinan host Aberystwyth, Gowerton host Velenvoil, and Whitland host Pontarddulais. So is there no game for Hendy this weekend then?
No, not this weekend, which will be quite good for us, I think, because we can get a bit of, recoup and try and get a few boys back. And
okay. So see, this is why Martin does it. Martin digests the fixture list, and you can say to Martin, "Who is so and so playing on the second week of May?" And he bang, he's like that, and then I got to try and read what he's written. So, okay, one West Central, only team that we got interested in is Brynaman lost 31-12 at home to Greenneath, and they are playing Bilth Wells this weekend. So where do we go next? Hang on, I got to work my way around Martin's spreadsheet, boys. Hang on a tick, because there we go. Hang on. Right, 2 West. So Carmarthen Athletic lost 28-19 at home to Croyce. Fishguard drew 22-all against Mumbles. Lampeter Ammon United was postponed. Milford beat Nancaredig 19-12. Big shout out to Milford. I'll tell you why in a minute. And Tenby beat Loughor 38-23, which is fantastic because nobody likes Loughor. So, yeah, Carmarthen into Croyce on there then, Ben. I'm guessing not too happy with that one then, mate.
not really, but well, yeah. I mean, it is what it is.
It is what
The
it
less
is.
said, the better. I don't want to upset anyone.
Cool. So, Milford. So I'm going to give a big shout out to Milford because I've asked a favour of them this week. So they used to have a big picture in the players' lounge, which used to be my dad when he was playing when they played Ebervale in the quarterfinal of the Welsh Cup at some point in the 70s. And somebody said to me, "Oh, the picture's gone. The picture of my dad's gone." So I messaged them and I said, "Oh, any chance if you're not leaving the picture up, can I have it? Because I haven't got any photos of my dad when he was playing." So fair play, they're having a look. They're going to see what they can find. They know where all the pictures have gone. So fair dues. If they can find it, or if anybody in Milford has got any photos of my dad when he was playing, then by all means, give us a shout because that'll be great. So fixtures for this week. So that win over Loughor puts Tenby back at second place in the table, I think now, which is why that game was important. So fixtures for this weekend: Lampeter, who are now in third, against Loughor in fourth. So if Lampeter can do one over Loughor, no one likes Loughor, that puts in a good position for Tenby going up as well. Milford host Aman United, St Clair's host Mumbles, Tenby host Fishguard, and to Croyce host Carmarthen Athletic. In 3 West A, there were only 2 games. Aberaeron 22, Larne 26, and Pembroke lost 13-45 to Cardigan, which is an absolute joke for Pembroke, I'll be honest. Fixtures this weekend then: Aberaeron host St David's, Haverfordwest host Larne, and Pembroke host Llanybother. And now, 3 West B. Betus and Llandelo was postponed. Kev Nathan beat Llanderby 35-27. Furness beat Binia 25-10. And Llangadog beat Trimsaran 18-10 at home. Fixtures for this weekend: Llangadog host Llanderby on Wednesday night. Betus host Trimsaran. Kev Nathan host Furness. Tumble travel to Llandelo. Llanderby host New Dock Stars. And Tregaron host Binia. Go on, Ben. We're still not done, boys. We're still not done. There's stuff left.
And Bailo Tumble will be that'll be a good game.
See, I don't know. See, this is where Martin, this is where you might be handy because you know more about those kind of stuff. Like that's the shit Martin knows. See, and
yeah.
Me and Huw are sitting there most of the times, and Martin's going, well, so and so used to play for them and now plays for them, and he coaches them and he plays for them, and his mother does the teas for them, and
I'm missing out on the reasons the game was postponed. Like the scrum half's missus's uncle's rabbit escaped and the whole team was out searching for it. Like something like that. That's the bits that I'm missing out. We've had 2 postponements and we don't know what it is. My favorite ever postponement story from the histories of rugby is in the 1950s. Vaughan had a game postponed because their origins was as they were on the barracks of a paratrooper regiment, and a war broke out, and all the paratroopers had to go off and fight in the war, so the game was postponed.
Well, a long time ago, my granddad used to live in St David's, and half of the St David's team were lifeboat crew. And literally in the middle of a game, I think they were getting tanked anyway. But half time, the call goes off, and like 10 players just went like that, and the referee's going like ready to start the second half, and everyone's just legging it and like jumped onto somebody's cars and somebody's.
I bet you someone lodged a complaint with the WRU. They need to be excluded from the league for that. Disgraceful.
Yeah. So let's go. Where are we? 5 West Central. Cumgrach beat Pantafunon 53-24. Fall Bay beat Pennabank 23-9. Fixtures for this weekend: Pantafunon are hosting Ponty Yates. And then we're down into youth cup matches and all of this kind of stuff. So I'm going to apologise to all of our youth boys because Martin does know all the youth stuff and who's doing what. And he's got all of your fixtures on there, guys. But we'll do it next week because, well, I need to fill next week's show for one because there's no Scarlets game to review next week. But yeah, Martin will do you justice, whereas I will just kind of read stuff off and I won't have a clue who's doing what. Okay, so yeah, there's like 30, 40 odd lines of stuff, and it goes over to the Jesus Christ, Martin. This is why he needs a holiday because he spends all of his life working out who's playing who in which round of this. We've got youth trophies, youth cup, youth bowl, youth plate. Woo! That's a big one for next week, boys. Trust me on that one. Right. We've escaped on that one. We'll leave that to Martin next week. So let's have a little chat about first of all, let's discuss the news from last week, the announcement that came out. So have you got any announcement in front of you, Huw? Or
I have. It was a bugger to find it. I've had to go on the Scarlets website to find it. And as we know on this podcast, if you have to find yourself on the Scarlets website, yeah, it's not a good start. Right. But I found it eventually. I found it eventually. Right. I won't read the whole thing because it's long. But so it's interestingly portrayed as Simon Mudrak is the one putting this out. So it's very much this is Simon coming out and saying this is how it's going to be, is how it's portrayed. So basically what's happening is The Scarlets are going to recruit a new rugby performance director to work alongside Dwayne Peel um, and support him. We'll talk a bit more about what we actually expect that to mean in real terms in a second. Rugby General Manager John Daniels will lead operations as Scarlet's managing director, which we understand may be a form of a promotion, a kick upstairs. We have reached out to the Scarlets for clarification on all of this, by the way, and we're waiting to hear back. Um, a new head of development pathway is to be appointed. We'll maybe briefly touch on that first because I think that's the quickest to talk about. And Phil Morgan was chief operating officer and is now chief financial officer. So apparently he's a chartered accountant and he's going to be focusing purely on the money side of things. So there's a big long statement. Simon has also done an interview with Steph Thomas, who is the Scarlets plant at Wales Online. And so big news. A lot of people have had a lot to say about this. There's um, a clip on YouTube of Simon actually talking about it and explaining it. If anybody wants to see that, it's on the Scarlets YouTube. It was also posted in full on Twitter. So where do we want to start? Should we just say, so we'll start with the pathway and development manager. So a lot of people, Snedden is the guy who people have in their minds. So it seems that they want him to focus on coaching and the admin side of it is more what this person will be looking at.
I thought you were going to start with the fact that the social media team had actually found a way of making a video. I thought that was going to be your first dig.
Just as an aside, there is a clip from the Barbarians game in this video that looks very good and it's very well shot. Where so they had cameras there. There's a very sore spot for me that Barbarians game wasn't streamed or televised in any way. But we know that there was cameras there because we've seen clips from it. But anyway, it's not the point this week.
That was like 2 months ago.
I know.
You know what, though? That is absolutely spot on. If that doesn't sum up what the Scarlets are about lately, you know what I mean? That was huge. I spoke to Rory Lawson, who's head of Baba's communications and stuff. They were pushing for it. Supposedly, it was the Scarlets that were blocking it off. And
see, that's just frustrating.
We played Exeter in a friendly. It wasn't streamed. Exeter played the Army in a friendly, the British Army in a friendly. That was streamed.
Yeah.
Say no more.
Anyway, the social media team found a video and took it a video.
It was a really high quality. Right.
Yeah.
Move on.
Press
use
buttons. Yeah. So, Ben, what do you make of it, mate? As a neutral.
I mean, is there much wrong with the pathway? Because we're bringing young players through. I don't think that's ever been an issue, has it? There's young boys coming through, and probably the standout players of this year have been the young boys stepping up, especially, Tommy Lewis and Eddie's coming through. Joe Roberts has been fantastic last 2 seasons. So I don't think that is. So if, it's more about the admin and it takes pressure off that one person, the overriding factor seems to be one person doing a lot of jobs that's not in their remit, including, Dwayne Peel and these people. So if that's getting addressed now, great, but it's still going to take a lot of time to find the people, then to put them into the position, and then to clarify, and then to get, cohesion with the other kind of units of work and workers. And it's again a kind of slow build. It's a little bit both in the stable door and the horse is gone. You know what I mean? It's one of those. It's a little bit late, is it?
Yeah, I mean, you're right with the amount of players that do come through the academy, and we do have a phenomenal amount of players that come through the Scarlets, as you can see by how many of them fill other Welsh teams. And I think
Dragons
that's
and Ospreys.
Yeah. Well, Hardy's off, and is it Steph Thomas is off to the Ospreys as well? Anyway,
yes.
So we certainly bring players through, and we just can't hold on to them. So it's more about looking at that pathway So I recorded rap before we came on air as well, and spoke about it a little bit on there. And there's a lot of stuff going around about culture at the minute. And if I tell you, so so my boy was involved in the academy last year, in the 18s last year, and for one of the games, so bear in mind this is Scarlets under 18s, right? So they announced the team on a Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon, and they were playing on the Wednesday or whatever. And 5 or 6 of the boys just went, "No, I don't want to play," and they walked away from Scarlets under 18s. That's where the culture was last year. Yeah.
Wow.
And you could see that was the year before as well. It was there the year before. This year, you can see something has changed with Snedden in charge. Something has changed. So whatever's changed needs to be changed through the academy, through the performance centres and all of that kind of stuff. The 5 performance centres that they've spoken about was
Yeah.
Mudrak specifically mentioned that. So it looks like they are taking on board that stuff needs to change. And I think there was probably a little bit of complacency of sitting back and going, look how many players we've developed, look how good we are, look at us, we're amazing. And then ignoring the fact that so many players are walking away and other players are going to other regions and we're not getting the benefit of developing them. So yeah, I mean the name that's been thrown around is Gareth Williams. So
Yeah.
for
Now, I forgot his name for a second, but I knew he was our former defense coach. So I thought, while I'm on the Scarlets website, I wonder if they've updated the coach's defense page. And no, they haven't. So his name's still on there. So I've been able to remember what it is.
yeah, yeah, that sounds about right actually, to be honest. But he's rumored to be. So he used to work with Wales under 20s. He knows the system.
Mm.
He knows what's going on. Um, so
And
yeah,
when he was moved aside from his defensive duties, it did say in that press release that he has been offered a role in the academy. And I
mm,
think Simon has said in the press release that of the 2 roles that they're recruiting, one is penciled in and one is they're just going to market now. So I think it seems like Gareth
mm,
Williams to this the head of development role, head of pathway role is
mm,
it's in Gareth Williams's hands of whether he wants the job or not. Is
yeah,
reading between the lines.
I think that is his forte as well, isn't it? I think that's what he specializes in. But
mm.
would you want to come back to a team that and an organization that quite literally like chucked you under the bus?
Yeah. I said there's a lot of stuff there that we don't know enough of, and this has always been the case with Scarlets. They're almost afraid to tell us what's going on,
Yeah,
and I think that was the case with Babs. Was it just kind of happened, and then there was an announcement, a bit like this. And we were told that this was a much bigger announcement than what actually came out. We were given hints and tips, and we were told about half an hour before this came out that there was going to be an announcement, and blah 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 blah. And then this came because we whipped up social media. And
Lee got giddy.
okay, I went, "Oh, this is it! This is what we've been waiting for. Here we go." And people would go like, "Go on, tell us." I go, "No, no, no, I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't." And they go, "Yeah, go on, tell us. Otherwise, you're going to look a complete dick, aren't you?" I go,
And
"Well,"
then the,
and then
the the announcement came out and people were tagging us in it going, "Is this it? Is
is
this
this
what
what
you
you're
want?"
on about? And I was a bit like, "Oh, I'm going to go live in a cave. I'm, I'm going to delete my Twitter account."
clickbait.
Yeah, it wasn't what we were expecting the name of the director of coaching, the director of rugby to be announced, and it's a name that we've been talking about for ages on here. Simon Easterby. We know that people have been trying to persuade him to come back. We know that there's you know we know that he wants to move back to Wales. And then there's a whole load of stuff that gets thrown in the middle of there with Andy Farrell taking the Lions. We don't know where that leaves Easterby. Does he stay with Ireland? Does he now get a chance to manage an international side? You're not going to go, okay, I'll come back to Scarlets. I'll give it another, 12, 18 months with, or does he get the chance to go with the Lions? And now you're going to say, oh no, I can't go to the Lions. I'm going to go and be director of rugby at the Scarlets. It's
Do we think it is a matter of when, not if?
well, I think this is the confusing bit is if he says, I've got to stay with Ireland now, I'm going to manage Ireland for the next 12 months. Do we wait 12 months and then say, okay, come back? Or, if he says, I'm going to be with the Lions, well, that's 18 months. It's, um, it depends. It may not even be Easterby. My understanding was that Easterby had signed before, ready to come after the World Cup, but he had a clause in there that said if he got offered an extension by Ireland, then he was allowed to take that and turn this one down, and that's why nothing was announced. Um, but it's all
The
muddy
thing is as well,
waters.
isn't it, that if you do it with Easterby, it is less of a gamble, isn't it? He knows the club, he knows the league, he
Mm,
knows it's going to be an easier bedded in period. And you know, let's not be naive and not think that he would be on some kind of consultancy role while still working for the Lions and Ireland, putting stuff in progress, putting
Mm.
stuff in the mix, and then coming back and seeing that,
mm. I think the frustrating bit again is that they've got, like I said, we've asked Scarlets for, what are the details. I think a lot of this depends on the details. What is
Mm.
John Daniels going to do? How is he going to be involved in signing players and all that kind of stuff? Apparently, Cubby is taking over the manager's role. That was announced last week as well. So apparently Cubby's taken the manager's role and he'll integrate the manager's role with player recruitment and development alongside the director of rugby. We need the details, you know,
yeah.
and this is one of the bits that Scarlets continually shoot themselves in the foot. That this could have been a good announcement. This could have been
It's
a
like
great.
when we had the coaching announcement and they said like, and now Jared Payne's going to be coaching defense, but he is still coaching attack and the backs. And and Dwayne Peel is also coaching attack and defense and the backs. Like, right. So everyone's doing everything then.
Yeah.
Um, in the interview that Simon did with Steph Thomas, um, he did say that the performance that it's again a bit similar to Rob Seddon is they want Dwayne Peel to be the coach on the pitch, with the cones and the whistle in his mouth and things, and that's not what the performance director would be doing. They did use the word culture when talking about the new performance director. They'll be responsible for driving culture at the Scarlets, and he also said that the performance director would have a heavy input into team selection, first 15 selection,
Mm.
which is interesting. And that's Simon who said that. So, hmm, it,
Mm.
to shoot from the hip a bit, is this new person going to be Dwayne Peel's boss? And Peel's essentially going to be the attacks coach.
Yeah. Sounds like it, doesn't it? From where you're reading between the lines, that's what it sounds like.
Mm. And but then last season when we bought in Lee Blacker, yeah,
Lee Blackett.
Yeah,
Blackett.
Blackett, yeah.
I was
Yeah.
thinking Dane Black on it. When we bought Blackett in, taking some of that pressure off Dwayne actually really improved what we were doing. And
Mm.
by all accounts, a lot of that was just because it was Lee just kind of took some of that pressure off him. Do you know what I mean? And went, right, okay, I'll deal with all the shitty bits. You just go and do the fun
On
bits.
a
And,
on a
you know,
human level, Dwayne must dread doing interviews and press conferences and things at the moment.
yeah,
Like, I know it's his job and he's getting paid to do it and stuff, but it must be like at the end of the game when he had to go and stand in front of the microphone, it must have been like,
yeah.
But I don't think he does himself any favors, and I don't think what's coming from above is doing him any favors. Like you say, there's no transparency. It's the same kind of line is rolled out. Our discipline wasn't good enough. Our thing wasn't good enough. A culture. It's the same things. I think, unfortunately, he's probably taking because he is the face of this. He's taking the brunt of it, but I don't think anybody in the Scarlets organization are really helping themselves.
Mm.
hmm.
Can you imagine him coming out one week and going, "Fucking referee was useless." Honest to Christ, did you see that? And that was like a forward pass by a mile. What was he doing? That
Maybe
guy was
he wants to
blind.
do that. Maybe he just go full Razzie and just go like, yeah. Have you seen the clips of Razzie doing the bollocking the Springboks at like half time and in the
It's
team?
class, isn't it?
I
It's
love it.
absolute class. You liars, you promised me. You
Yeah.
promised me you did. You liars. God, it's like you don't know whether you want to
The,
kiss him or punch him, you know. You're
oh
like,
God, the latest clip he gets, I won't do the accent. He's got a whiteboard and he's carrying the whiteboard from the back of the room to the front of the room. He goes, "Right, boys, prepare for some honesty." And he puts the whiteboard down and we're like, oh Jesus Christ. And they're all these Springbok double World Cup winners are just sat there like, oh.
Yes, sir. No, sir.
Yeah.
But I tell you, right, the first game when I went up to seniors, so when I was in university, right, and I went to a team that was based in Cardiff, wasn't the main Cardiff team, but it was highly rumoured. This is in the amateur days, that highly rumoured that this team was paying players quite well, right? Mainly because they were in Division 5 and they just recruited two Welsh internationals who'd left Newport and come to play for them. So I'm 19. I'm sitting there and I'm going, oh, yeah, I'm gonna have you boys. I'm gonna show you what's what. And before training, we got hauled into the training room, right? So not even like, hello, this is Lee. He's come to join us. None of that stuff. This was right. What the hell was that last Saturday? That was ridiculous. We only won by 40 points. That should have been 100. Are we not paying you enough? He got a wad of cash out of his pocket. He went, boom, and throws, and there's all this money floating around in the air. And I go like, holy shit. This is how they do it in the big boys, like, And he's
he'd
going,
be practicing that all the Sunday, hadn't he? He'd be
Yeah.
practicing that going round and round in his head. Down the cash point, get cash out, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
When you're just sitting there and you're going like, oh, this is it's like watching telly. This is boys. This is amazing. So maybe that is what we need. Maybe we need Dwayne to come out and show a bit of passion. Do you know what I mean? We need a
Yeah,
little
I
bit of that.
definitely think the soft. Well, I wouldn't say softly. I think that that's maybe that's been a bit too harsh. But I think this all in it together stuff is it's not worked so far, has it? Maybe it needs a little Mourinho rant and a bit of
Mm.
a siege mentality. Even if he, you know what I mean, somebody needs to be kind of the enemy to pull us all together and have that siege mentality, us versus them, and right,
Mm.
let's batten down the hatches. What's there to lose? Because at the moment he's losing credibility. The players are losing credibility. It's turning very toxic, as you boys can probably see on the social media side of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
you know, it's with everything Scarlet at the moment, it just seems to be reactive. I think in general, Welsh rugby just seems to be reactive instead of forcing the issue, thinking outside the box and going, right, let's get in front of it before it starts the damage. I think we just react to stuff like this whole the coaching setup changing, everything in the execs changing. Well, surely we could have seen this happening at the end of last season and started to put some things in motion. We knew that Dwayne was struggling with this all-encompassing director of rugby and contracts and coaching and this and that.
Yeah, because he was he
It
was
could have gone bad.
he was going to be
Mm.
head coach at Cardiff, wasn't he? And then
Yeah.
like, the Scarlets kind of had to offer him something better
He was
to get him in, even though he
he,
was always going to go to the Scarlets. The Scarlets came knocking
he was due to go to Cardiff as uh backs coach, and then Dai Young
and
was
worked for Dai
naughty.
Young.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then Dai Young turned out to be a little bit ranty and a little bit naughty, not in a good way. So he left, and it was like, right, okay, does Dwayne now step up to that role? And then while they were umming and ahhing about that, we went, aye, yeah, how'd you fancy this one? And of course, it was an easy decision for him to come to us. But I'm gonna make an offer now, right? Genuine offer to the Scarlets, right? So those you see it on the football ones where like Michael Sheen goes into the changing rooms beforehand and does one
Oh
of
yeah.
those, come on, boys,
Mhm.
follow me.
Yeah,
Follow
yeah,
me
yeah.
onto the pitch. This is what it's here for. Those bastards are having it today, and we're giving it to them. I'm going to have to do one of them just because I fancy it.
At a very reasonable fee, I'm sure.
Yeah, do you know what? I'd settle for a couple of pints. I'd settle for a couple of beer tokens and just giving it. But do you know what I mean? We need somebody, whether it's a player, whether it's
Can
a
I can,
supporter or
can I be
somebody.
super honest about something?
Go on.
I'm quite disappointed that neither Foxy nor Sheriff are being that person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm. And if they are, it ain't working. But they need
You got to
something else
think
to
that
them.
Ken's got a bollocking in him. You got to think that he could shake the foundations if he wanted to.
Yeah, especially just his face every now and again. You look at his face and you're never sure if he's happy or angry or sad or whatever. He's just got that like face of rock. You know, and you're right. We need somebody to go right. Okay, I think changing captains every other week isn't helping us because we haven't got somebody to go follow me into battle. You know, I'm the number one. I'm here. This is what I do. I'm here now, and you follow me.
I'd
And
make Alex Craig captain at this rate.
yeah, just because he's having a storming season, and you
Yeah,
just
Like
look.
Alex Craig, I don't know. You do. You like him.
he
There's
is.
a man
He's
crush
9 out of 10 every single week.
There's a man crush there, definitely.
Top
You've
carrier, top tackler. I am first campaign of hashtag justice for Alex every time he doesn't get picked by Scotland. I'm like, what is wrong with you people?
never.
I think it's. I know we'll get onto the game in a bit, but is Lousy trying to do that by putting a big one on somebody, or is that a frustration thing? Because it's a bit. I can, I'm a big Man United fan, and Roy Keane used to say, "Don't go and smash into somebody, do something." He's got derby. It's a derby, smashing. It's a bit late if you try to do it there. Is that a kind of follow
Mm,
me troops? Or is that I've had enough, I'm pissed off, so I'm just going to smash somebody and get out there?
mm. But Scott Quinnell is renowned for it. You know,
Yeah.
get him in for a couple. You've
I
got
think
some,
pick your moments. Maybe that
but
that 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 exact moment maybe is not the one I would have picked. If he'd have done it, I don't know, another time I'd have been all right with it.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I'm kind of, because I can see it from kind of both angles. So I'm
mm,
not sure exactly. I probably think it's probably the latter of just being like frustration. But the Tongan boys, they will, how they rev themselves up is to be physical. But yeah, yeah.
mm,
It's like I said, it's
uh,
all very reactive and seems to be a lot of moving pieces around the board without actually solving any problems at the moment.
mm,
If it's coaching staff or in the exec box or even players, 8 changes, 10 changes. Who's your half backs? Who's your back row? Like we don't know.
Well,
mm.
I got directly asked what the how many changes we're making in game at the moment. And because I'm me, of course I track it.
Of
So I'll
course you
tell
do.
you now.
There's a spreadsheet somewhere with it
Oh
on, isn't there?
yes. Oh
Yeah.
yes. So actually this is the fewest changes we've made to the 15 in the last 5 games. Just seven.
That's
Um, just seven. Less than half the team. Um, now to be fair, to
Mm,
be fair, the pack that was picked was the one that we wanted because we did a big selection debate on the last pod,
yeah, yeah.
and that eight that they picked is exactly the one we wanted to be picked. So not going to complain about that. But so 7 changes this game, 11 changes last game, 9 changes the game before that, 10 changes the game before that, 9 changes the game before that. And by the way, it's not like all the injuries that we've had, they picked up injuries early in the season. They've been missing for a long time. So it's not like the Dragons get like 3 injuries a game.
yeah.
We're not getting that. Like players like Ben Williams and Archie Hughes and Charlie Titcombe are fit and available. It's not getting picked. Or when they are picked, they're then out of the team again next week.
Mm,
Um, so that's yeah. So that's the frustrating thing. We've
You
added
don't change after like your back three. I wouldn't even know who's the like the back three? You've winger and fullbacks. Who would you say? Yeah,
Wing is not a clue.
Mm.
I've got no idea who
Yeah.
our wing is.
Mm.
Combi on the bench. You like, I think, especially Combi as a finisher and very much. I think he's a bit like a Rooney where he needs to play
Mm.
and play and play and play and get in his stride. Whereas with a Steph, I think he can come in and out a bit and he just does his thing, doesn't he? He can make 4 mistakes and then score worldly.
Mm.
Mm.
So you can't, but I just don't understand how do you expect to build a style of playing and develop players if
Yeah, you're constantly
you haven't
rotating
got
them.
consistency. There's no
Yeah.
consistency.
Yeah, so fullback has changed 6 games in a row. So it was Lloyd, Nicholas, McNichol, Nicholas, Lloyd, Nicholas is
You've
our
pushed a
last.
button now, Ben. Yeah, you realise that you've opened Pandora's box, and
Scrum half has changed 7 games in a row. Starting scrum half, and again, it's the same 2 or 3 players. It's just a different one each week.
Mm.
That's the thing.
Well, again, I
Anyway,
think we kind of it's if you look at the Ospreys, they've been and Cardiff to an extent, they've been pretty consistent in their
would you like to know exactly how consistent?
in selection. Yeah, go on, yeah.
Oh, sorry. So
That was a perfect link, wasn't it? For
yeah.
you?
Yeah.
So so so
Knock it out of the park.
Cardiff made a lot of changes week just gone, but they had all their internationals back, obviously.
Yeah.
But they've been making like 3 changes per game, 2 changes per game. Ospreys are the most consistent in selection. They've made 7 changes like us last week, but that's the most they've made in 9 weeks, 9 games.
Wow.
So they've made like 2, 3, 4, 4, 7, 4, 6, 7.
So you just know that there's a spreadsheet. It no
Yeah,
matter what question you ask Huw, there's a spreadsheet for it,
yeah.
and it's just
But
a
the
matter of
punchline
time.
is that Ben is exactly correct.
Yeah,
All of that is to say that Ben was right.
Now there'll
You
be a
look at somebody
spreadsheet.
like a Ben Thomas has played himself into form because they've stuck with him and they've gone, look, you're going to play most games. So, you know what I mean? He's playing with that bit more freedom. And I think, I don't think he started the season particularly well, but he's just come into form now because he's played and played and played. And,
Yeah, it's happening for a minute.
He's talking about playing Wales 12. So,
yeah. Let's move on swiftly from that from that one. So let's move on to the game on Saturday. Huw, I so 3 word thoughts. Okay, we do on social media, and we know that it's not great at the minute, but the 3 word thoughts on Saturday were about as negative as I think they've been.
It's the
So
biggest response that we've got. So, like on Facebook, I mean, there are some people who are negative every week anyway.
yeah.
And there's one person who left a paragraph completely missing the point. Um, um, yeah. Oh my God. I mean, one guy did say Eddie James good. So that was positive.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no real point reading any of these out, to be honest. They're all essentially the same of not happy. And of course, you go onto Twitter and see what all the Cardiff and Ospreys fans thought about it. And don't quite fancy doing that.
I put
Same
my phone
story.
down. Yeah. I put the tweet out and then I went, I just gonna put my phone down. I'm not even gonna look at the
Yeah.
replies, in all honesty. And then I looked at them on Sunday morning and I thought, it's Easter. I can't be asked with this. I'm just gonna leave it there. I did genuinely forget that it was Easter weekend because I gone, oh, I'll do this. So I do all my usual stuff on a Sunday, and then my wife's like, it's Easter. Just leave the rugby stuff alone. It's Easter. I had to go do gardening instead. But yeah, I think sometimes you just got to do that with social media and just go, do you know what? Everyone's got that kind of feeling. Okay, things
I
ain't
think,
great.
I think the phrase you're looking for is opinions are like arseholes. Everybody's got one,
Yeah,
and most of them are full of shit. That's what you.
yeah, and you don't want it in your face. So
No.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was just one of those times where you just yeah. The bit that people need to remember, yeah, is that we all care. We've all got this, you know, we all feel emotional about it, and that's why we do what we do. But there's always a person on the end of that comment. There's a person the other end of that time. Every time somebody turns around and says Dwayne Peel was shit. Yeah. Now I'm not saying that. I'm saying that that's what people have said. Dwayne Peel was shit. So there's Dwayne, there's his family, there's the extended family, there's friends, and all of that kind of stuff. That he might have a duck's back. It might be water running off, and he might go, yeah, okay, but you don't know. You just don't know what that person is going through. You don't know what their family are going through. You don't know what. So when people are putting these comments, just have a bit of common sense, and there's a way of framing it differently to what some people do. Dwayne
You've got to
needs
be
to.
open. You've got to be open too. If you're going to put something online that say, is contentious, so I'm happy to debate with anybody. Debate, isn't it? Like, and hear both sides of the story, and I don't have to agree with you, but yeah, I can see where you're coming from with this and that. But it's no, no, it's this way. No, no, I mean, you can't speak to anybody that just goes, no. Well, what's the point of putting it on then if you didn't want any comment to either, question you or just to say, well, what do you think of that then? Well,
Hmm.
it's just so easy to put a comment and go, well, I'm right. I've got 15 likes. Just
Yeah.
instant gratification, isn't it? It's the easiest thing in the world, but you've got to be open to a bit of a debate and to see it from the other perspective. And like you say, there is somebody on the end of it. I've had, believe it or not, bad reviews. It happens.
Hmm.
But
You just send them a poo in the post and move on.
Right, so let's talk about the game then. So, Huw, have you actually got any magic numbers for us from the Glasgow game?
No.
No. Okay. Well,
I decided that I wasn't going to spend an hour doing all the stats for that game. Alex Craig was the top carrier and top tackler again.
okay,
That's
that's where we'll go. So we've got a positive. We've got a positive stat to start with. Alex Craig had a good game. So
I think we should special, shout out 150 caps for Kieran Hardy. I mean, that's a hell of
mm,
an achievement.
yeah,
mm.
Um,
especially just before he goes.
Yeah, especially because he's just announced he's moving to the Ospreys.
I mean,
Like,
I thought that could have turned a bit nasty and a bit toxic, but it seemed to be a good ovation and stuff. I think, that could have easily have gone tits up,
it's
I
a bit
think.
it's a bit awkward when he's got to do the interview for it. So what does getting 100 caps for the Scarlets mean to you, Kieran? Oh, I've always wanted to. Nothing means more to me than playing for the. Yeah.
Like a rat
Yeah,
from a sinking ship, but
yeah. So, what did you think about the game? So, Ben, what did you make of the game on Saturday? Was there anything positive we can pull out of that game?
I, I, I would love to say yes, but I don't think there is.
Mm,
I would love to see a style. Do you see a blueprint of what we're trying to do? Do you see a thing of, okay, yeah, I can see where we're going with something. I don't know if we're an attacking team. I don't know if we're like a counter-attack team. I don't know if we're a territory team.
We are
You
not
know,
a territory team. I can tell you
no,
that.
no, I
We
know.
are
Yeah,
not a territory
again,
team.
you've got, does it like my biggest takeaway from it was, and I know, Dan Jones probably coming on and trying to make too much of a difference too early. You're trying to force it because you've been on the bench. Charlie Tickham has a stormer. Should he have come on? What was there to lose by him gaining some experience and being on the bench for that game at home and having a crack? Would we be any worse off? We'd
Mm.
probably be better off in the long run.
mm,
Yep,
Um,
we are the Charlie Titcombe fan club on this pod, and this is something that we've said many times. Is
yeah,
here he is dragging Carmarthen Quins to yet another win at the weekend. They don't win without him, and
mm.
here we are. How does a fly half get yellow carded in a penalty try for a maul infringement?
yeah, I thought that was pretty ridiculous, but it just struck me as something that, again, it was um, like a system failure more so than a player failure. I know that sounds a bit convoluted, but it just seemed like, oh, well, nobody's going in there, so I better do it.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I
In
think,
this game, we were in defense, we were blitzing like absolute madmen, which we haven't done all
We haven't
season.
done all season. Yeah.
Now
mm,
we know that Jared has gone to be the defense coach now. So is Jared like, okay, we're a blitzing team now? If so, this is plan C of the season so far. For people keeping track, right? Before the weekend, it was 15 games. So on average, a plan at the Scarlets lasts 5 games, and then we come up with a new one.
mm,
Like,
I don't think you can be a blitzing defense if Foxy's playing.
well,
no.
You
I
know,
think
that's
that's the hard bit. You have to base your structure, you have to base your systems on the players that you've got, and if those players are capable of playing that
hmm,
system, the two kind of work hand in hand. And you select
hmm,
players that work with your system, but you put a system in place according to the players that you've got. And yeah, Foxy, somebody said it's a shame that this will be the memory of Foxy rather than the 10, 15 years of, fantastic, amazing, Iron Man in New Zealand, British Lions, where he's in danger of kind of erasing little bits of those memories. And
they must have coached that defensive structure all week.
mm,
So I don't understand. Has he come in last minute? We knew that Joe Roberts was injured, so was the
yeah,
plan always to play Fox? So why have we gone to that? It's just, but again, like you're saying with that, it's your personnel. Now, did this when we signed Johan Lloyd, we obviously signed him as a 10, right? Because we had Johnny Mack and Tom Rogers play fullback and stuff like that. So okay, I kind of get it, but we've got three tens if you're taking Charlie out of the equation as well. You've got Sam Costello, Johan Lloyd, and Dan Jones, who are three totally different tens. So how do you
actually
put
played the
in
same game.
place? Yeah,
Mm,
hmm.
it's
yeah.
just totally, totally different.
The Johan Lloyd as a fly half experiment needs to have time called on it now. It like there was a moment in the first half where we actually turned over a line out. We stole a line out, probably Fafita did it, to be honest. And it went back. Johan Lloyd calls for it, it goes to him, and you're thinking, cool, clear it. Johan Lloyd's kick meters are actually really good. There's something that's underrated about him, which is why he's so suited to playing fullback.
Well, yeah,
And um, so he's in his own in goal area. He's just taken it from a well defended 5 meter line out, and he decides to have a run, and he gets tackled on his own try line, panics, offloads it to Ryan Elias, and all Ryan Elias can do is ground it in his own in ball area, and it's a 5 meter scrum to Glasgow. And you're like,
it's the Itoje Twickenham play again. It's the
yeah,
exact same play practically.
Mm.
But look, I think there's a top class player in there. I really do.
hmm,
I think he has got something that can't be coached. But looking at it, I think that they've tried then to go, like Costello's a really good player, so try and play like Sam. So he's not playing like his natural game, so he's second guessing, and then we go down by a couple of scores, and then he tries to play off the cuff like he did the Scotland game, and it will probably work out, but 1 in 3, 1 in 4 at the modern game is not that having it doesn't work like that anymore. And I'd
yeah,
love like I see that him and Costello and him at fullback and two receivers, then you've got two tens on the pitch. I think that's a great way. If you haven't got a footballing 12 like a Johnny Williams or Eddie, it's good to have two, first receivers on the pitch and come in the line. Costello's intelligent enough to go second receiver. But that doesn't seem to happen either when Lloyd plays fullback. So what's the point of giving him time in the 10 jersey then if he's not going to do stuff that a 10 would do from fullback?
hmm,
And I think this is what we're missing as a team, as a club, as a region. It is just that blueprint that goes right. This is like you say, when Pivac came in, Pivac put a system in place that didn't work for the first 4 or 5 games. Yeah,
Yes.
but you could see, yeah, and he fronted up and he. I remember he gave an interview and somebody said, "Oh, we're making breaks and we're throwing these offloads, but they're not going to hand." And Pitback said, "No, but we're at the start of the season we weren't making the breaks, and now we're making the breaks, and now we are offloading." and in 3 or 4 games, those will start going to hand. And
You
then when
know
they
the
start,
likes.
yeah, and it was like this is my plan. This is how we're going to play the game. We're going to turn the ball over quickly, and then we're going to do this, and then everyone's going to run at the same player. We don't seem to have that with Dwayne. We don't seem to have, and I would love him to just go, all right, do you know what? This is how we're going to do it. Even if he puts his hand up and he goes, do you know what? What we've been doing so far isn't working. I haven't been strong enough. So this is what we're going to do, and I'm treating this as warm-up games for next season. And this is how we're going to
Surely it's
play the
better
game.
to implement that with 9 games to go, and and then to get the boys up to the level of preseason, not to implement something new against opposition. I mean, I think this is where we went. I mean, we were unlucky to get the kind of South Africa first up and
Yeah.
Mm.
that, and you want to, get your game. But if we don't do it now, then when do we do it? When do we?
Well, this the story that one of the excuses that's been brought out is, oh, this season's all about building and developing, and I'm like, well, why are we playing Foxy? And why, if Kieran Hardy's off, why is he starting? And if Wyn
Why is
Jones
it
is
not
apparently
then?
off, yeah,
And Charlie, if we're like you say, if we are, then Charlie Dickham should be coming off the bench then.
yeah.
Surely that's
Well, on the bench, we had Gareth Davis on the bench. He didn't come on. So what's going on there? And again, Ryan Combe was on the bench, didn't come on.
yes,
Yeah.
it's it's
Now,
crazy.
again, I make the point always. I don't get why you'd have a winger on the bench anyway. What are they supposed to fix? Like when, unless it's just pure injury cover.
Yeah, but the whole thing is this, Johan Nicholas is a solid club player, but he's a centre. He's not a winger. He's not a fullback. He's a
Mm.
centre. 12 and 13, I think. I think he can do a job at both, which is quite rare in the modern game. But he's not a wing or a fullback.
Mm.
Hmm.
Definitely not.
And now t Tom Rogers is now, we said this last week, he's between two stools now because he's playing out on the wing. But the more I watch him,
I thought we were making him into a fullback.
yeah. And
Mm.
Gatland has said, I know Gatland's not necessarily the most popular man on this podcast, but Gatland has said that um, he sees Tom Rogers as a fullback.
But then where'd you put
So
Yohan
it's,
Lloyd? Isn't it? You then got
yeah.
somebody like Yohan Lloyd who's got, I think he's number 2 or number 3 in the URC for meters gained and
Yeah, but
defenders.
that's because he runs everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but do you know what I mean? At fullback, I'd settle for that at
Yeah.
fullback.
No,
Having
no,
somebody
agreed.
that breaks a
I
line.
kind of, do you remember in the 2013 Lions tour where James O'Connor was playing 10 for Australia? And then he spent the rest of his career on the wing.
Yeah.
Like, I've got a feeling like we'll look back at when Johan Lloyd started a test match for Wales at 10 and we'll look and just go,
Mm.
God, we must have been in the mud then. Like, because I don't think his future is at 10. And I'm not,
Mm.
he gives his all every week and he clearly got an eye injury in this game and stuff as well. So I'm not faulting his effort. And like exactly as Ben said, he's massively talented, but I just don't see him as a 10.
Mm.
I've seen him play wing, to be fair. I've seen him
Yeah.
have games at wing. And I think that could, it can, again, if we're playing into something that's designed, if he's going to start every week at 15 or 14, I've seen him play 13 for Bristol.
Hmm.
You can build something where you've got more footballers on the park, let's say, where you are going a bit positional, you defend in positions but you don't attack. It doesn't matter what numbers on your back to attack. If you come in first receiver and Costello's coming in second receiver with a bit more time, then I could see the logic in it. But like I say, we're not playing that kind of game, so I,
Mm.
it's strange. I think Tom Rogers has definitely been one of the players that I know he struggles with injury and stuff, but he needed a run of games. He needed to be playing week in, week
Yeah.
out, like you say, at fullback. And
Well, I think the thing is now, right? We've got in our in between now and the end of the season, we play the Dragons, the Sharks, and Zebra. Yeah, so the 3 teams that are all around us at the bottom, and then I think we've got Ulster, we've got Edinburgh next, then yeah, Edinburgh and Ulster are the other 2 teams that we play. Yeah, both of them are not having great seasons and great runs at the
Yeah.
minute. So you target those 3 games now at the end of the season. Yeah. You target them and you go, do you know what? Those are the 3 games that we absolutely have to do something in. Those are out of those 3 games, I want 2.99 wins. These are what we have to do, and you end up with 6 wins through the season. Okay, maybe not so
That's the
bad.
same as we got last year.
Yeah, and then maybe pick up a couple of losing bonus points off it. But you have to be in a place where you go, right, for these 6 games or whatever we got left now, right? These are the players that are gonna. This is the bulk of the team. Yeah, these are my teams, and this is the team that's going to go forward to next year, and this is the team that I'm going to have, and I might make 1 or 2 changes here and there, but come hell or high water, this is what I'm going to do, and you've got to commit to it, and I think this is the only bit that I don't know, say the only bit where I criticise Peel, because this is the bit where I think that he can do more for himself, is where he can say, right, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and he has a conversation with supporters in the newfound camera in this when this the social media team have got a camera that works. They sit down with Dwayne Peel, and we've said before the invitation is permanently open. If somebody wants to come and have a chat with us, we'll snap their hands off. But grab hold of the social media team, have a sit down and go, do you know what, this is what the rest of the season's going to look like. This is what these games are going to look like. You're not going to give away a massive amount to the opposition, and they're going to go, oh yeah, no, right, yeah, okay, didn't think of that, but you're going to
How
communicate.
much that opposition don't know anymore. You know what I mean? It's so I don't think you can surprise
Yeah.
Exactly,
them
yeah.
all.
But what you can do is you can say to supporters, you know what, thank you for all of it so far. I get your frustration. I get where you're coming from. I'm just going to tell you where we're at, and I'm going to tell you what the rest of the season's going to look like, and I'm going to tell you why. And then hopefully this is what we'll do over summer, and then we'll come into next season. Pre-season, we're going to play the team that's going to start. We're going to treat it as pre-season, so we're hitting game one with
Pre-season game against Leicester, by the way, announced.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But do you know what
Ricky
I mean?
Smith did it.
Yeah, yeah.
But we need to change the format of what we're doing now. We need to. Dwayne Peel needs to do himself a favour and come forward and start talking to fans, because fans aren't sitting there wanting to hate him. They want to love him.
No.
You know. They
There's a
we
question for you. If Dwayne wasn't a Scarlets legend, would he still be in the job now?
No. But I think there's examples in the Scarlets all over the place of they are Scarlets, and
Hmm.
that's what's
Back
kept them there.
around. Yeah.
And they've given Dwayne, like when we had John Daniels on, Dwayne has been given carte blanche basically to bring in whoever he likes, whether that's assistant coaches or players. Um, so yeah.
We just need to use it better. But what I'm saying is we've got 2 weeks off now, haven't we? We got no game for 2 weeks, which makes next week's podcast really interesting with no game to review and no game to preview. Martin is going to be in his element. There's going to be
It's a
spreadsheets.
2 hour youth cup special.
So Llangennech under 11s are playing.
I
But
You know
just
when
want to ask you guys what you thought of, obviously, the Treviso game. Everybody was very happy with the right and left, the 2 sevens in the back row
yeah.
with Teddy and Dan Davis. It didn't quite go the same this week, did it? What do you think of that going forward?
I think Teddy's been fantastic all season. I think he's one of our players of the season. I think it can, I think it can work. Like we spoke about when we won the title, we had Barkley and Cubby, who were both
Yeah,
sevens
yeah.
playing in the back row. So I think it could work. I don't know if those are the two I would choose to do. I feel like Teddy is like he's small for a seven. He's really small for a six. even if he is actually playing as a 7. So I don't know. It'd be interesting when Plumtree's back available.
Yeah, I think my view on it is I've always kind of loved that. I do, I love that Australia, Corcock and Hooper 7-6. I love that. I don't think it works with Fafita at 8 because Fafita is a kind of free spirit. He's not your quintessential 8, is he? Like you say, a Scott Quinnell or picking up the ball, a Faletau. You know what you're going to get. Where you can use the two right and left. I don't think. Whereas if you had the Calamafone, though that would work really well, I think. But again, we're playing a system that it doesn't work with the players that we've got. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? If Fafita was up in the second row, then I think, and with a ball carrier Nate, those two could really do some damage.
See, I've always preferred Fafita in the second row, but Fafita and Lousy in the second row. If you're a big, hefty second row, and I think the only reason he's not is because Alex Craig is having an outstanding season.
Yeah.
But if you're looking across and you're going, right, I've got Lousy that plays like he's playing basketball for the Harlem Globetrotters, and he's got his hands around the ball and he makes it look like a pea, and it can go also, and he's handing people off and all this kind of stuff. And then you've got Fafita that's outpacing wingers and fullbacks from his own 22, and like, oh Christ, and I'm a big heavy second row, and that's who I've got to outsmart. I've got to play better than them today. Do you know what I mean? That puts you really on your back foot. And I just, I don't know, it's frustration again about chopping and changing and this, that, and the other, not having a clear blueprint about what we're doing. But I think we've got the players. I think we've got the coaches. I just think we're all running around like headless chickens at the minute, just going, oh, you do this and you do this and you do this and you do this. It's almost like you get to the start of the game and you've got to check and make sure you've got 15 players on the pitch. Do you know what I mean? I'm willing to bet there's somebody whose job it is to make sure we've got 15 players on the pitch just in case, because we really not that organised before, and
Yeah,
and that's how it feels at the minute, you know.
Yeah. There's this squad. If you looked at the squad, or the 15 that we're putting out, like you said, that pack was the chosen pack. That's probably our strongest pack that was available, right? To be that squad's not a 14th in this league.
yeah, agree.
Mm-hmm.
It's not nowhere
I think
near.
Cardiff would have half our players.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, but I'm looking here. Penalties conceded, 147 penalties, worst in the league. Scrum
Yeah.
offences, 44, 16th in the league. Line out offences, those are, you know, those are fundamentals. How do you give at set piece? How are you giving that many away at set piece?
Well, that's where I kind of in this specific game where like Peel wasn't the main reason in this game because you got when in like the second minute when Tom Rogers is taking someone out in the air, like Dwayne hasn't gone, hey Tom, here's an idea.
Smash
Like,
it.
yeah. And Glasgow got some of the best 22 efficiency of any club in Europe.
Yes.
And this like, hang on, here's an idea. Let's give away a yellow card and give them just easy access into our 22. Like if you look at most of the penalties that we gave away in this game, most of them were offside because we were blitzing for the first time. And players were still trying to figure out when do I start running? And
Yeah.
like,
And who's giving the
that's
call?
that's why you need a preseason to learn these things. But then you got things like Lousy taking risks at rucks in our own 22 and getting pinged for it. And I'm like, be a bit aware. We're not playing the Dragons or Zebra. We're playing Glasgow.
But that's because he doesn't trust the defense to blitz.
Yeah.
So he's going,
It's the confidence.
is they going to go over in the corner? So they might just go for the 3.
Yeah. And
Tri
that's what
trivia.
it's confidence that all my players around me are going to do what they need to do. And when that prop takes a ball and is running at the player to my right, that player to my right is going to put that prop down and I can jackal. It's having that confidence that I don't need to go in and support that tackle. I don't need to make another tackle. I can wait for him to hit the floor and then be first in, and
But
that's
yeah,
confidence. You know.
but in this against this specific opposition, it would probably have been better to let them play a bit more. Because if you look at the tries we conceded, it was a wide ball off advantage on the wing that Tom Rogers would have been covering if he'd have been on the pitch. Then there was three driving mauls, one which I think was again another advantage off a driving maul that had been brought down, and this one at the end off the scrum, which was just diabolical. So where we'd probably given up by then. So it's just kind of Glasgow, would you like some help? Here, we'll give you a lift to our 5 meter line, and then you can take it from there. Okay. Trivia for you: who started number 8 in the first game of the season?
Ben Williams.
Josh
Correct.
McLeod. Oh,
No, Ben Williams.
Yeah, it was in South Africa.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hasn't
yeah.
played a game at number 8 since.
No, but he's one of those players that is going to be amazing. He's going to be great. He needs a bit of bulk to
Mm.
play number 8.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm
No,
not
no, I know
blaming
we're
Ben
not
Williams. The
criticizing
point is, yeah.
because we love Ben Williams,
Mm.
but
yeah. Would it
yeah,
have been a bad to have him on the bench last week?
yeah. But
Well, he's fit and available as far as I'm aware.
Hmm.
right,
I
gents.
just wanted to ask one question, just away
What?
from the pitch. And
Hmm.
obviously something that like I said, I do a lot of work at Saracens and I've done a bit at Bristol and Gloucester. What do we think of the match day experience? I've seen a few people having a go at Scarlet supporters saying that there's no atmosphere down there and, people aren't coming out because they're losing. But do,
People who live in glass houses should not throw stones.
do you think people are getting value for money and that's maybe why it's not just the team? Do you think that, like we've talked about, the Scarlets aren't the most visible of associations? Do you think there's, a 3 million loss? We don't use our stadium for anything else rather than rugby. Surely there's got to be some way of making money from stadium.
There was a Pussycat Dolls gig booked there before COVID, and then that got
Yeah,
cancelled, and
yeah.
then we haven't done anything since.
I did speak to somebody down there. There's been a few inquiries, but they're not getting back to band and to management because we're not sure when we're really in the pitch. And we don't know when the season
Uh,
starts and when the season finishes, and we don't know what our fixtures are. They're not going to hang around, are they?
nah. And you need to
You know,
book
we
that
think
stuff 12, 18 months,
Yeah.
2 years in advance, don't you? You know.
Well, we could just
we've
go.
got that's profitable and we don't use it.
Well, the WRU say to Team Wales, "Sorry, Taylor Swift's here this week. You're going to have to play in
Just
Twickenham."
too much money you'll have to play in. Yeah,
Yeah.
Twickenham.
But that's because
Yeah,
they've all
I'm
got
not.
tickets for a box. There's all the WRU boys sitting there going, "Hey, I got myself some Taylor Swift tickets." That's what that is.
They're all Swifties. They're all Swifties.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
what do you think of the match day experience as a
when I went there earlier this season, I but it was on the game against Cardiff, which was the same day as the Barbars game. So I watched the Barbars game in the barn.
yeah,
And they have said, I think Simon in his interview again said they want to make more use of the barn for supporters and making money out of it as well, which is obviously very understandable. So went there, had a drink there, then went into this ground, met Helen from the Supporters Trust, got a dragon painted on my face, went in the shop. That needs to change.
awesome.
Um, I think all Scarlet, this won't be news to any people who work at the Scarlets who might be listening. Everybody hates the shop. The Scarlet, especially when you're saying those horrid Castor kits for 90
See,
quid.
I knew the kit was going to come up.
Um,
But when
uh,
I was a kid and going to Stradey Park, even if there wasn't a game on, you would go to the shop. That was like the best thing. If it was my
Yeah.
birthday or before Christmas,
yeah.
Phil Day would be in the shop. You think, you know what I mean? You'd
Hmm.
see, Phil Davis would be around, or you know what I mean? It was amazing, the experience. And, God, I remember, as I said before, Man United fan and going up to United, going to the club shop. That was such a massive thing.
Hmm.
But like you say, it's just
Yeah.
much.
Well,
They can get if you now to go, right, okay, done, 90 quid kit, see you later.
That
Some kids just want
I,
something
w-
that's
I will I will say, um, I didn't notice that when I was actually there for the game. I didn't notice the match day experience being particularly poor. I mean, I've been to Twickenham a few times to see whether it's the Prem final or friendlies, and the Twickenham, it's just like your seats over there, and
yeah.
then that's the sum of it. They don't even do a fire display or anything like a proper international team.
when you look at Sarries versus Harlequins at Tottenham. Wow.
How
It's a
much they
different.
paid those 61,000 people to turn up, honestly?
Yeah, but I still think if we've made a 3 million loss this year,
Yeah,
and that's
something is.
double what we did the year before, surely it was worth having a
Yeah,
punt at some extra stuff for the 400,000, and maybe you'll make a bit back.
What we need is, and Hugh will
drums.
agree with me, we need drums in the stadium. Yeah. We need to get the boys online with us, right? And we need to do a little practice session. So when we go to the game, everybody knows what's happening. And if they don't know what's happening, they go, do you know what? I have a little looky on YouTube, yeah, and they go
Yeah, like the karaoke
Scarlets.
track. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
you go,
yeah,
oh, all right, yeah, and you've got nobody going, boom, boom, Scarlets. No, 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 you wait till the end. No, no, look, let's
yeah. Yeah.
from the top, 5, 6, 7, 8. You know, but do you know what I mean? We need to bring that atmosphere there.
Yeah.
And as
You
as
think,
fans, we can do that. We don't need the club to do that.
yes,
We don't need that. We can do that. We bring
yeah.
that.
Like that
Mm,
I definitely think there's scope to try a few things. I just
mm.
think again, in kind of Welsh rugby in general, it's all well, we've always done it this way, so we'll continue to do it this way. And unfortunately, as we're starting to find out, we need to think we can't do it the same way as other unions and stuff. We haven't got the budget, the people. We need to think outside the box a bit more and look at things because we can't do it like England and Ireland and France do
Mm.
it because that's
The,
Mm,
yeah, just on the money thing. So the loss of, so just to touch on that briefly, changing the subject a bit. So a lot of people got very excited about this. First thing to say is all rugby clubs lose money, like millions of pounds. Like if people think that like the French teams are making millions upon millions, no, they're not. Most of the French teams have got sugar daddy owners who are just piling millions and millions and millions into them. All teams in England have lost money, several million this season. I think the year that we won the league, when the books were announced, there was two clubs in the whole of Europe that made a profit, and it was us and Exeter. And now look where Exeter are now and things. So if you think the Irish are making money, they're getting handouts from their government left, right, and centre.
yeah,
That's how
and
they fund
I
everything.
mean their tax system as well is
Yeah.
benefits
So
them. I'm not saying about losing money,
yeah,
but what
but yeah,
what makes what is to double your loss in 12 months. That is a significant change.
mm,
yeah. Also, we lost £1 million more than the other regions. They all lost 2 million, and I suspect that's probably the downside of having our own stadium, because obviously Ospreys in Cardiff, yes, they don't generate the extra revenue from the Swansea.com and the Arms Park, but at the same time, they don't carry the risk either.
Mhm.
mm,
Okay.
So,
Then we're
whereas,
not using that asset to make 1 million then.
exactly.
mm. Right, gents, we are nearing the end. So, Ben, at the end of every pod, well, I say end of every pod, most pods, when I remember, we have a little Lee's dad's jokes. Now, I've left, as you might notice, I'm in a different room tonight, and I've left the joke cards in the other room.
Oh,
However, never fear, because I've got my dad joke book with me. Yeah.
Way.
So you get to choose now, right? When you say stop, and then I'll stop on a page, and then I'll read a joke out from that page. So
right.
Ben, you get to
Ben, very, very important. You must say stop before he starts flicking, because there's a time delay on the
Yeah.
Wi-Fi. So many times
I'll
we've
do it
gone 2 minutes
slowly.
on.
You're just
Yeah.
angry
You didn't
because
say
you get
stop. Ah,
crap jokes.
yeah.
Right. So Ben, when you're ready, and
Stop.
lovely. Right. Okay. So what do you call a hen who counts her eggs? She would be a mathma chicken.
Oh,
I like
yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
Uh,
No.
Hugh, Hugh's not amused. Right, Huw,
I mean, that's a solid 6 out of 10. That one,
yeah,
solid six.
absolutely. Which is better than most of them, I will be fair.
Well, one being a passable joke and 10 being the worst thing you've ever heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, Huw, go on.
Stop.
Stop. Right, okay. What do you call a fish with 4 eyes? A fish.
Because that works with what you call a fish with no eyes.
Yeah. That one actually works.
Right, gents, thank you for your time. Ben, I hope you've enjoyed your evening with us. It's been good to have you.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
Excellent. So, say next week, Martin will be back. Enjoy your rugby, ladies and gents, in between now and then. And yeah, we'll see you again then. All the very best. Doodle pips.
Cheers.
Double.
Thank you for listening to the Scarlets Fever podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please subscribe, rate and review wherever you listen to us, as it really helps us spread the word. You can find us on all the usual social media channels or email us on welshregionalrugbypod@gmail.com. And remember, whatever the question, rugby is always the answer.
Sports Social Podcast Network.